Hey guys, so I've been checking in and no new units have been released for what's been like, I don't know, over a month now, something like that. So today we're going to go over every single tier list in the game. We're going to revisit ones that I've done so far. So it'll basically be like your one-stop shop for tier lists. So really anybody who's new to the game, this will help them out a lot. Even people who are playing right now, this particular tier list, this character tier list is going to help you out a ton because I'm going to use my knowledge from Samcock and what we have going on over there to influence this tier list. So this tier list isn't current, it's for the future. It's going to be like for a few weeks time when they start releasing those new characters. This is going to be your go-to tier list for that. And if you wonder what's going on with the video in the background, it's actually from my last video on my second channel. I do have an anime channel, so if you're into like anime top 10s, deep dives, power rankings, stuff like that, then make sure you check it out after this video. I'll link in the description below my latest video from that second channel. And then do me a favor, only subscribe if you like the content. If you don't like it, don't subscribe. Okay, now this is most likely, it's probably going to be my last video for this game. It hasn't been an update in a while, and I've just got so much other stuff going on right now. So this is going to be a long video, so grab some popcorn or something like that. I don't know. So like I said, I'm going to use my knowledge from Samcock and what we got going on over there for this tier list. And as you can see, there are Godlink and Godlink points tiers. My voice sounds so chopped right now. So I'll show you what that's going to be about. Okay, let's go to officer, go to crowned. These are going to be your new crown units. We actually have like a lot of them in Samcock already, so we should start getting them any day now. Lube, this will be the first unit that comes out. So this should be the first one that comes out in Isekai Saga as well. We come to him, and you see we have the normal link that we do with the SP and SP plus units in Isekai Saga, but we also have Godlink over here. So as you can see, I got him linked to IMT Zhao Yun, which is the equivalent of Dark Satan, and this actually gives more skills. So we have like a skill tree attached to these new units. Come to the exclusive skill. So this is Chase type Zhao Yun, meaning who you use as Godlink material affects what skill you get. So you can kind of equip a skill to these new units. So each action increases damage by 10% for 7 turns up to 10 stacks, gets an extra attack. So you can kind of like almost customize the new characters. So the Godlink tier is going to be showing what units you're probably going to want to use for Godlink. And then to actually go through this talent tree, you'll need to get your unit to crown 6, but then you can put a protector in here, and that's going to give you more of these, like, what are they even called? Talent points. So I ran out. You do get some to start with, and then you won't be able to finish it until you get this one unlocked. So that's what I mean by Godlink points, is that protector unit. So now, enough rambling, let's get into it. Ninetales is going into Godlink points. She can also be useful in PvP just for her forbid action and rage regen kind of charm stun thing she's got going on. Lucifer is going, oh, I forgot a tier. There we go. Lucifer's going into free to play as part of your burn team. Arachne's going to SS tier. She deals damage with her debuff that ignores defense, can't be dispelled, and lasts until the battle ends. And most notably, it'll hit through blessing, meaning there's no damage cap for it, which is just wild. She can also shut down the pursuits of the enemy with the highest attack while reducing their healing and shield received and increasing their final damage taken. Really, really good unit there. Panda, food. Spartacus, food. Potamus, is that Potamus? Yeah, food. Elven Lord going to Link. And by Link, I mean linking to the SP and SP plus units. That's pretty much all they're good for at this point in the game. Well, this tier list is for like in a month or whatever, right? So Dark Lubu is going into Godlink. Annie is going into regular Link. Oda is going into One Thing. So these are units that are really good at one thing only. Ninetales would have been in there as well, but she's in Godlink. At this point, she's in the One Thing, but in the month, you know, this is a future tier list. It's time travel stuff. Just relax. So Oda's in there because if you're using Aurora still, which most people probably are, you do need her for her burn so Aurora can actually do some damage, unless you have Aurora's heroic soul leveled up enough where she can inflict her own burns. And then even if you do have that, Oda's still good in PvP for her stuns. Gilgamesh is going to free to play. Same with Musashi, still a good damage dealer for free to play units or free to play players. Cyclops is food. Come on. Uh-oh. Oh, it scared me. We froze there. That scared me. I thought I was going to have to rearrange this again for like the 3rd time. So I had to restart my PC a couple of times. destroyed this whole setup that I had going here. So Susanoo is not food. He is going into Link. Cyclops is food. Same with Ares. Dan going to SS tier. Great for team survivability. She'll be healing all allies, buffing their damage reduction, removing debuffs, giving out a ton, and a ton of shields, reducing damage taken to units with her buff, reflecting damage with her buff, and she also has a one-time revive. She's just built strictly for keeping your team alive, basically. King Arthur is going to Link. Hades is also going to Link. Aurora is going to SS tier. Still one of the best damage dealers in the game if we're talking about just sheer damage numbers. She doesn't need another unit to apply burns, so she can detonate them. So until you get her heroic soul ranked up enough, like we just talked about a minute ago, she buffs the crap out of her final skill damage and crit damage and can do multiple attacks every turn. Next we got Ignis Scorpio going to food. Ren is going to food. Archmage is going to Link. Angel and Demons going to S tier only, actually. Still really good for most people, not triple S anymore. She's going to be making sure everybody has enough rage, be healing everybody as well. She'll also buff allies attack, crit rate, and crit res, and can shield the allies with her martial soul. She's just not needed anymore with the combo. There's like a beast, a gem, and a servant. That should be enough to give everybody enough rage going forward. So if you're not pay to win, she's still necessary for you. But if you're paying, and at this point in the game, you're probably paying money still, right? So you can work towards getting rid of her. Nikita is going to food. Lady Zen's going to food. Dark Satan is going to Godlink. Otherwise, she would be S tier, because she still does okay damage, ton of extra attacks, buffs the crap out of herself, and reduces healed and shielding. Shield and healing. Okay, I can't talk. I always mess up every video, and I just started leaving them in several months ago. So she reduces my 60%, but she does have good Godlink skills for attaching to the new units that'll be coming. Great Adventurer into free-to-play. Moon putting in Link. Guan Yu's in free-to-play. Ninja is in food. Shirley is in food. Dark Hephaestus is in Godlink points. And other than that, like, he's still not even worth using. Ninetales is just a direct upgrade from him, right? Hephaestus is going to food. I'm just going to throw him wherever. Laplace is going to free-to-play. Lamia is going to free-to-play for the burn team. Chessia would be S tier, but she will be part of Godlink points when we get the new units. But right now, like I said, time travel stuff, real crazy. So she is S tier right now, but in like the month's time, she'll be Godlink points. And this tier list is for in a month or so, right? Sangon is in food. Uh-oh, we froze again. Wukong, right now, SS tier. In a month, Godlink. I can't wait for somebody in the comments to get upset about this. What's his name? Is food. Hera is in free to play. Reaper is going to Godlink points. Phoenix is food. Laura's food. Joan of Arc is going to Link. Valkyrie is going to Godlink points. Abe no Seme's food. Taichi's food. Kong Ming is going to free to play. Query is going to free to play if you're still doing that damage trick where you can get her to share damage and bounce it off an invincible shield. Still viable if people are starting to play or just free to play players, stuff like that. Ryan is going to Godlinks. Alice is food. Yukihime is going to free to play. Lu Bu's also free to play. Any of these free to play units that you're not using are all Link, I'm pretty sure. Oh, maybe not Lucifer and Gilgamesh. I can't remember off the top of my head. But if you're not using them, just consider them Link. Oregon's going to One Thing. Super good at increasing damage. Can also mess you up because of the cannot act part of the skill. I've seen him increase damage by like a silly, stupid, crazy amount. But he can also mess you up pretty bad. So really good for like damage rush stuff, PvE stuff. That's probably it, I'm thinking. Siren's food, Portabelle's food. Frost Edge is going to Link. Medusa's going to food. Agni would be SS, but he's going to Godlink. Asclepius is going to food. Thor is going to One Thing, otherwise would be SS. I didn't realize I only had one S ranker there. But she's actually kind of just a One Thing in a little bit. She's still pretty good right now, but she's mostly just for PvP. You only really need her when your opponent has Thor as well, because the only way to combat a Thor is to have your own Thor at Martial Soul 5. I think it's 5. Was it 3 or 5? I'm pretty sure it's 5. Don't really see much use for her in PvE, and can actually harm you when you're doing the damage rush fights because you're gonna have one less enemy to attack. So these triple S tiers, these are the new units that come out. So your first one should be Liu Bei. Super insanely good. We'll check them out right after this, before the next tier list we head to. Your next one gonna be Dark Lu Bu. I'm pretty sure he's your second, and then Cao Cao. So Liu Bei, I think, is Cyangon. I'm pretty sure it's Cyangon. Lu Bu, we do have a Lu Bu, and then Cao Cao is Gilgamesh. So I don't know what their names would be. Who knows? This should be the release order, and this is the order that they're like. This is the order of their tier as well. We've got like 10 crown units in XMCOC, and the first one's still the best. And that's it. See this guy down there? I don't know if you can see him. See him right there? I got him right there. Don't look at him. He doesn't exist. That's Shiva, by the way. So if I let go of him, yeah, we'll put him as food. Shiva's in food. So now I'll show you why these guys are so stupid strong. When he first came out, I saw pictures of people having nobody but him on his team, fighting other people with full teams full of like the SP plus units, and they're still winning. Like, this guy's gonna be absolutely overpowered. So they got a normal attack, they got a skill, attacks all enemies, refining 1 rage from each enemy. Each rage refined converts 3% final damage bonus, 3% damage reduction, 210% cap, up to 210% final damage bonus and final damage reduction, 70% skill bonus. It's got a spirit skill. Start with 3 crown points. At 4 crown points, using the cast a skill. 3 random enemies. Increases with rage refined. Increases the damage of that up to 180%. Separate from the 210% and the 70% in his skill. Damage dealt to shielded targets increases 30%, ignoring control. Each rage point refined gets a 2% attack bonus up to 60%. Each action has a 25% chance to ignore unyielding and invincible effects. That's broken. Cast a skill before death only once per battle. I've seen him use that, cast a skill before his death, which would then heal him, preventing him from dying, and he just does that a lot. Then we got Hero Soul and Martial Soul, and they've got a lot. They've got 10, and they each do something. So like this one just doubles his attack, defense, and HP to start with. Like I don't know. You want to go through these and read them? I'll scroll them real slow. You can pause the video. I don't feel like reading all this. It is kind of late here. I'm kind of tired. And a couple more. Just pause the right time. You can read all of that. Just absolutely broken. I wonder, got no new beast yet. There's no crown beast. I was just going to check something out for you guys. No new metallic beast. That was a one-time thing. Our stratagems, we have there actually Isekai Saga's caught up. Why haven't they released crown units yet then? That is weird. Okay, let's move on to the beasts next. We'll do the regular beasts, and then I'm just going to insert my divine beast tier list video because I didn't make it too long ago, so we'll just add that into this video so I don't got to do it a second time. So if you've been playing for a while, you're probably not going to be using any of these anymore, let's be real. But for the new players, this will be really helpful, so if you don't need this, just skip ahead. Frost Dragon's going into B tier, just really not that useful at all, in my opinion. Blaze Phoenix is also going into B tier, another stinker, she just does some damage. Vanquisher Bion is going into A tier. Increases enemies' damage taken and reduces their healing received by 30%, which is pretty dang good. We have the Abyssal Wyvern as well, going into B tier. It can execute enemies, but it's kind of hard countered pretty easily. We have this Crystal Serpent also going into B tier. Has a chance to deal some good damage, but at best it's a 50-50. So there could be some times where it's just not doing anything at all, like even to the whole team. Odds are pretty low. Odds are it'll hit at least one person, but still. Abyssal Kraken going to S tier. Gives a pretty good amount of shields to all allies, some damage reduction, and revives two allies twice per battle. So super good for a regular beast. Holy Incandescence going into B tier. Reduces enemy attack by a bit and can reduce their rage gained, but they'll still get some rage. This is not very useful at all. Cinder Dragon going to S tier. Removes the highest attack enemy from battle for 1 turn once per enemy, effectively giving you the numbers edge in the battle. It's the only way to remove an enemy from the field until you get Thor as well. Thunder Pegasus going to A tier. Really good when you first get it, but at this point, even for new players, it's better to focus on the S tier, just for the long run, right? So it reduces enemies' rage. It can still lower rage enough to mess with enemies' rage skills. That's why it's not in B tier, but like especially as free to play, but you really don't need it nowadays. Actually, nowadays, nobody's going to be using any of these really. They're going to be using the IMT beasts. So you can grab one, if you're free to play and you're just starting and you're seeing this, you can grab one copy of it to start out with. It'll help you, but then focus on the Abyssal Kraken and the Cinder Dragon and the Sacred Guardian, because this gives all allies 3 rage, so it's kind of just a tug of war with Thunder Pegasus, right? So you got to choose one. Might as well choose the one that gives you a 30% damage bonus and a 20% crit damage bonus for 1 turn as well. So that's the super quick rundown of the beast tier list. Now we'll go to my old video, not old, it's not even that old, it's about like 5 weeks old. It's still maybe even less than that. It's still relevant because nothing's changed, so we'll check that out next, and then we'll go to antiques and then servants. So pretty self-explanatory with all the ranks. We do have one that's a little bit different because there is a specific beast in here. It hasn't come out yet, but I'm going to add it into this tier, so stick around to find out what that is. So first off, we got Mighty Tiger going into A tier. At level 0, which you get just for activating him, he applies Tiger Split, which is a debuff to a random enemy officer at the beginning of the battle, which lasts until the battle ends. This reduces crit and healing received by 15%, while also increasing final damage taken by 20%, pushing this all the way to Unparalleled 5. The first 5, I do have their Unparalleled skills, the rest I don't. I wasn't able to gather all of them. So at Unparalleled 5, it makes it apply to all enemy officers and increases the crit res and healing received debuff to 40%, which is pretty big. It also applies a white tiger mark to all enemies, which gives a 10% chance to add the next direct damage taken plus 100% after each action taken or taking direct damage. If the effect doesn't trigger, this increases by 10%. Again, all the resources you're going to use in this guy are better spent in other beasts, because the healing and crit res can come from other sources, like there's units with that already. At Martial Soul 5, he applies Tiger Roar to all enemies, which has a 30% chance to damage the enemy based on max HP, as well as reducing attack and defense by a little bit. Might sound really familiar. I believe he's just a direct upgrade from, was it Vanquisher Beyond? So he's just an upgrade from that, and that guy's been around for a while. We have Guarding Tortoise going into S tier. At level 0, when you unlock this guy, increases a team's crit res and defense by 10% for 1 turn and dispels 2 debuff stacks from 2 random officers at the end of a turn. At Unparalleled 5, the crit res and debuff applies to all officers. Every 1 debuff dispelled grants the officer bulwark equal to 8% of their max HP. When there are less than 4 debuffs dispelled, every 1 debuff increases officer's defense by 5% for 1 turn. With a lot of the debuffs nowadays being undispellable, it's probably a lot less valuable. But at Martial Soul 5, he grants Irresistible Guard to 4 targets with the lowest HP and heals them to at least 50% HP, while also giving them a 20% shield. When an officer with Guard dies, if they have triggered Revival, grants 60% Bulwark Shield after Revival. If they haven't triggered Revival yet, it just heals them to 60%. But with Lion Boar out recently, your officer is going to be getting revived more often. So it's going to increase your team's survivability quite a bit, especially when you pair it with other units like, what's her name, Diane, and then the Sundering Behemoth and the Lion Boar, so this works well together. Next, we have the Incandescent Bird going into A tier. When you unlock him at the beginning of the battle, this guy applies Undispellable Divine Plume to 1 random ally officer that lasts until the battle ends. This increases the crit and heal received by 15%, which is okay. Final damage reduction by 20%, which is pretty decent. Once you get him to Unparalleled 5, the crit res and healing received goes up to 60%, which is a lot. He also applies an Undispellable Vermilion Bird Mark to all allies, which gives them a 10% chance to reduce the direct damage taken by 100% after each action or taking direct damage. It's only 10%, not going to be happening very often. It increases by 10% if the effect doesn't trigger. At Martial Soul 5, it triggers on character deployment and applies Undispellable Nirvana to the entire team, which reduces final damage taken by 12%, crit res by 8% for the next 4 hits taken for every 1 rage. It also increases final damage by 25% and crit by 15% on the next skill cast for every 1 rage. You can stack up to 3 times, but the stacks only count for trigger chances, not for the effects. This one, he's decent, but keep in mind all the invincible shields going on. Your damage cap from Blessing is like the hard damage cap, so you can stack up millions of percent of final damage, and it's not going to be doing much unless you can hit them over and over and over with pursuits. He's kind of like a counter to Tiger's healing reduction, and people probably aren't going to be using Tiger that much, so he's right there with him. Next, we got Auspicious Killing going to triple S tier. At level 0 at the start of the odd numbered turns. I didn't write down the level 0 for the rest. I had a few of these written down from Ex-Samcock, so I reused them. The exact same skills, saved me some time. But after the Empyrean Dragon, I won't be talking about their level 0 skills. or their unparalleled skills, just their max skill in the, was a Fame 5-star from the list. So level 0 at the start of odd number turns grants undispellable divine killing to one random ally, which increases attack and defense by 10% and deals 25% more damage to shielded officers for 1 turn. Extra damage to shield is really, really good. At Unparalleled 5, this buff is applied to 5 officers, and the attack and defense are increased to 25%, as well as the damage to shielded officers to 50%, which is a lot. It also deals 50% more damage on the next hit after receiving a shield. And Martial Soul 4 triggers at the start of each turn, grants undispellable kill and rage to the entire team. This reduces final skill damage taken by 100% up to 5 times per turn, as well as increasing damage boost and damage reduction by 5% up to 150% every time a skill is cast by enemies. At Martial Soul 5, you also get immunity to skill damage after taking skill damage, and each skill cast by officers increases final damage of the next skill by 100%. So this guy's just really, really good for damage and survivability, and that extra utility to combat the shields, so don't pass up on this guy. He's one of the really good ones. Next, we got Empyrean Dragon, headed to triple S tier. At unlock, this guy gives you 3 stacks of undispellable Divine Dragon Shield to 2 random allies for 1 turn at the start of the battle. Divine Dragon Shield makes you just immune to all control and debuffs, including irresistibles, which is just freaking wild. Although it does exclude rage reduction. At Unparalleled 5, this turns into 6 stacks for all allies. Each stack doesn't increase your attack and defense by 15%, but it still includes all irresistibles, and excludes rage reduction for each stack, meaning you'll have CC immunity for each stack, and while you have any amount of stacks, you'll get the attack and defense boost, which is just an extra bonus on top. It also restores 8% of max HP every time the immunity is triggered, and his Martial Soul is also really good as well. That was just from his skill. When it reaches level 4, he'll apply Irresistible and Undispellable Dragon Curse to the entire enemy team at the start of even numbered turns. This actually forbids enemies from receiving any healing and even rage gen. It also prevents the enemies from receiving dispellable invincible effects as well as dispellable shield effects. So talk about combating shields, you can't even use them with this guy. Also has a 50% chance to extend Dragon Curse by 1 turn after it ends. When you reach Martial Soul 5, instead of forbidding healing and shielding, they'll receive 30% of the healing and shielding as damage instead, so it gets even better. If they try to get an invincible effect, they'll instead take 20% increased final damage from the next attack, and if they try to get some rage regeneration, they'll lose 50% of the rage that they would have gained instead. As you can see, this guy's just a step above the rest of the Divine Beast. Really, really good. That's why I've been telling everybody to summon for him. If there's other beasts in the pool and he's in there and you haven't maxed him out, go for him. So next up, we got Solar Blaze going into SS tier. He increases all enemies' damage taken by 35% and reduces their shields received by 30% and applies Scorch to them, which has a 35% chance for them to take 20% of their max HP as damage every action taken. So like every time they attack and pursuits, counters, stuff like that. He can also apply Afterburn, which reduces attack and defense by 5%, as well as a damage bonus and reduction by 3%, and has a 40% chance to trigger after each action. He can also trigger enemies to take 30% of HP as damage, has a 40% chance to occur after every pursuit that they do. Next up again, we got Moonlit Radiance going to triple S tier. At the battle start, he increases all allies' rage by 4. This was the guy I could never remember. This was one of the things that you can use so you don't have to use Angel and Demon for the rage regeneration anymore. There's a couple gems from your guild as well, and then some servants. Like there's a meta for that. You don't have to use Angel and Demon anymore. So this guy's a big part of it. He also increases their damage bonus and pursuit damage by 20% and attack by 10% for 4 turns, all of which is indispellable. He also inflicts Spectre on the highest attack enemy until the battle ends, which reduces their rage reduction and has a 40% chance to inflict Void after each action, which forbids action as well as HP and rage regen for 1 turn once per battle, that's pretty big. Void also reduces their attack and damage bonus by 20%, and Spectre can also cap the damage dealt by the enemy to 40% of their HP, which is, that's kind of hit or miss because Blessing is still your damage cap. At Martial Soul 5, Spectre can expire any buffs gained by the enemies, and it lasts until the end of battle, meaning super strong buffs like Unyielding may not work for them anymore, which is just nuts. Chaos is up next, going into S tier. He makes it so each action taken by enemies has a 26% chance to trigger an effect that devours 55% of their max HP and 50% of their shield up to 4 times per turn. On even numbered turns, he damages all enemy heroes and inflicts trepidation on them, which has a 50% chance to reduce their max HP by 6% when their HP changes, meaning when they get damaged or healed, up to 20 times per turn per hero. It also reduces their defense, attack, damage bonus, and damage reduction by 5% up to 5 stacks for 2 turns. This is just really, really gonna mess with the enemy team. Oh, and did I mention the stat reductions can't be dispelled or resisted? He's pretty decent. Now we got the Lion Boar going into SS tier. At the start of the battle, he applies Undispellable Staunch to all allies. This increases their defense and damage reduction by 25% and has a 40% chance to revive them upon death, up to 2 times per battle per hero, which is a lot. That's up to 12 revives per fight, which that alone is just super strong. But he also prevents enemies from being revived if they're still dead at the end of their turn. But wait, there's more. During the odd-numbered turns, he applies 2 stacks of Hell Soul to all enemies, which can increase damage bonus by 10%, deal damage based on 5% of the max HP, that increases against shield enemies up to 5 times per turn. And you can also reduce target shield by 30% of their max HP, all the while spreading the Hell Soul buff around to more allies, which is just cherry on top. Now we got the last divine beast out right now, which is Thunder Ox, but don't worry, we're still going to finish off the rest of them that'll come out because I have all their skills from Examcock. It's the same beast. Some of them have different names, so the names might not be the same, or they might not look the same. They're probably going to look the same, but they should have the exact same skills. So we got Thunder Ox, and I'm putting him into S tier. Actually, probably ahead of Guarding Tortoise. During odd turns, he inflicts Thunderstrike on the highest attack enemy, which makes their skill cast have a 75% chance to fail, and they'll take 55% more damage, but it only lasts until the end of the turn, and can only happen twice per enemy. He also applies, actually, probably below Guarding Tortoise, only twice per enemy. He also applies Thunderstorm to all enemies, which makes them take 100% of the damage they received again next turn, while also making 2 of their buffs ineffective, increasing their final damage taken by 30% and reducing their final damage dealt by 30% in the next turn as well. He's a bit of a, kind of like an odd duck. 75% chance to fail can be really big. I've heard some people say it doesn't seem like 75% chance in practice when they're actually using him. Taking all the damage received again next turn is also really good. I don't know, somewhere around here. Somewhere in there. I'll just put him right in the middle. So now for all the unreleased beasts, keep in mind the skills might change, probably won't. Names might change, who knows, but they should be the exact same. So with that said, we have Lunar Hare, the only cute beast, going into A tier, probably at the top of A. He buffs all allies' attack and skill damage by 35% for 1 turn at the start of odd-numbered turns, which really isn't that much nowadays. If there is more than 1 enemy, he also damages them equal to 40% of their max HP, which is big, but it can be blocked by Invincible and Unyielding, but it'll also stun them. The damage increases to 60% if they have a shield that is more than 20% of their max HP. The stunned enemy takes 25% more final damage and indirect damage, and if the enemy dies from the hit, the hair will do it again to the next enemy. 90% of the damage dealt to the stunned enemy by the hair will also be shared by another enemy. This is a bit of a weirdo here. Skills are pretty but his Martial Soul can deal a lot of damage, yet it can be completely blocked. And like I said, you really want to have your units for damage. You want some crazy support stuff and CC from your beasts. So yet another weirdo in here somewhere. Can be good, so I'll put him in A. Can be bad, so like who knows, right? And then last but not least, we have the Infernal Hound going into Burn tier. So the next release should be Infernal Hound, and then the last one should be Lunar Hare. So he increases the burn damage for both you and your enemies by 40%, and then he also increases the enemy's direct damage taken by another 40%. So you will be taking more burn damage if you're using him, but your enemies take more than you will take. So like indirect damage like burns, poisons, other damage over time debuffs, stuff like that. So he does that until the battle ends, and it's undispellable. He also inflicts Smelt on all enemies, which reduces their HP by 100% of the beast's attack per turn. This damage ignores defense and is undispellable, but it can't be stacked and only lasts for 1 turn. It can also trigger when enemies take indirect damage twice per turn per enemy. Whenever they take Smelt damage, it reduces their indirect damage dealt by 6%, increases their indirect damage taken by 6% for 3 turns up to 6 stacks, so 36% each. So again, a bit of a weird one. If you're not using units with indirect damage, it's not going to be doing much of anything for you. But seeing as Aurora is the best damage dealer out right now, at least until Friday, which is like tomorrow, we should have the next tier of units out, and he's going to blow everybody out of the water. But you'll still be using Aurora for a bit. So I have him in a separate tier because when enough crown units come out and you stop using Aurora, you're going to stop using this guy because he won't be doing anything for you. So if you're whaling, you probably wouldn't care, and you can get this guy anyway. If you're free to play, then You probably won't be getting many crown units, so you probably want to go for this guy as well, just to increase your Aurora's damage, because hopefully you have Aurora transformed, get her 1 copy, transform her into herself. That means you can still level up her heroic soul, and then she'll also be max martial soul, and then you can use this guy to increase her damage. If you're in between free to play and a whale, you might not want to get him, because you're most likely going to be able to get some crown units when they come out, and then you're eventually going to replace your Aurora. Because if you're a whale, spending, don't care, right? You can get this guy, be overpowered for a little bit. If you're free to play, you do care, so you probably want to get this guy, because Aurora's probably going to be your main damage dealer for quite a while. So it's just up to you, just some information for you. And before anyone asks, no, it doesn't matter what beast you link to any of these. Just know that you can't use the linked beasts and the beast you have it linked to in the same formation. And with that, that is the end of the tier list. So I hope this helps you out. Gives you some information to prioritize which beasts to get, which ones to max out. Okay, actually we're gonna do the servants first. We'll do the antiques last, because that's kind of old news at this point, right? So this and then antiques, then we're done. So edge for your damage going into A tier. Same with sturdy, damage reduction going to A tier. Okay, I forgot to fix up the bottom. I'm tired. Okay, it's late. So hopefully I didn't mess any of these up. So we have edge going to A tier just for some damage boost, sturdy for the damage reduction in A tier. Blessing, I'm struggling whether to put it in S or SS. I think I'm going to lean towards SS, but it is not going to be needed in the coming months. Okay, we're going to get to the point where rounds are going to last like 10 minutes, right? Nobody's hitting close to 50% HP anymore during that time. So I just for now I'll put it in SS, but it's eventually going to fall off, believe it or not. I think I said that when I first started making tier lists, so somebody go back and fact check me. I'm pretty sure I said in my first tier list about it. Fortifying going to A tier gives you 20% shield, I think. Blasting is just no good. Twin is going to SS, gives you death immune once per battle. Enduring, don't need that for magic shield. Slaying is going to S for more damage depending on how many enemies you hit, plus it'll heal you as well. Raging, probably an A for increased damage based on rage consumed. Maybe, I don't know, I'll put it at the backside of A. Remedial is actually really good as well. Gives you some overhealing shields. Seclusion, good as well. So you trade crit rate and final damage for final damage reduction and crit resist, and once you rank it up to 5-star you get way more than you give, so it's worth the trade-off by quite a bit. It's going to help you out a lot. Scorched Earth I wouldn't bother with. Same with Chained Misery. Mending I'll put in A tier. Reduces your damage taken by 40%, and then after you get hit it goes down by 20% for the rest of the turn, and then the next turn it goes back up to 40%. Bonding Endurance is going to SS tier. Probably it's really important. I'd put it right up there. So all allies get a 5% shield after getting hit. After each action also gives everyone a 3% shield. So this just throws shields on all allies just repeatedly and constantly. It's really good. Twisted Fate I'll throw into S tier. Converts 30% of the pursuit damage you receive into shields, and sometimes you get, well, not sometimes, probably most of the time you're gonna be getting a lot of pursuit damage your way. Undefeated I'll throw in triple S. Gives you 2 unbreakable invincible shields when you die, and it's pretty much one of the only things in the game that has a death mechanic that actually gives you a good reward, or good enough to justify the death, right? Passion, probably right about here. It gives you a 20% damage reduction, and you gain 20% each time you get hit, up to 200%, and it resets every turn, so it can really skyrocket your damage reduction. Hercules I'll throw into S tier. It gives resists a control effect, which is nice, but also gives you a 30% final damage bonus, which is much better than just a regular damage bonus coming from Edge. Zhao Yun going to triple S. Taking actions buffs damage by 15% and reduces enemy defense by 6% for 3 turns, up to 4 stacks per turn. It doesn't say 4 stacks total, just 4 stacks per turn, so you can really layer this up. Gives you a lot of extra damage and lowers enemy defense quite a bit. I just dropped something. I'm just so sleepy. Susanoo I'll throw into SS tier. I'm just going to throw it right in the middle. Gives you 40% damage bonus at the start of the turn. Adds 20% every time you hit the same enemy, up to 200%, and then it resets every turn. Yoshitsune I'm going to put into A tier. Gives you a 55% final damage reduction, which is quite a bit, but when you drop below 36% HP. So by that point, you're either already in trouble or some other function is going to save you and shoot you right up to like 100% HP, like the Sundering Behemoth. Wukong, I'll put near the backside of SS. Gives you a 70% final damage bonus against the enemy when they first enter the field for the first 3 hits only. So actually, no, I'm going to put that at the top of S. No, actually, I'm going to put that behind slaying. That's a lot of damage, but it's only for 3 hits, and then it does nothing for the rest of the fight. Okinanushi, SS tier. When you gain a shield, you'll get another shield for 20% of the original value. Plus, when you have the shield, you deal 35% more damage to enemies with a shield. Super, super helpful. Actually, right there. Shields are in the game. There's so many of them. As we just showed with, what was that, Bonding Endurance, plus Diana, like she does a lot of shields too. Momji, backside of S, I guess, heals you by 30% and removes debuffs when you drop below 30% HP and reduces the attacker's final damage until the end of the turn, but only once per battle. Actually, yeah, once per battle, whatever. That once per battle stuff kind of sucks. Can save you, but Achilles going to A tier. Really not that good. At the start of the battle, you deal extra 60% damage. This is a lot. 20% less each turn, only down to a minimum of 20%, but you lose it when you kill someone. So, whatever. Wukong going to triple S tier. Buffs final damage, and each action has a 16% chance to ignore invincible and unyielding. You can ignore unyielding with this, which is nuts. Every time the effect doesn't trigger, you get another 16% added to the chance until it does, and then it resets back to 16%. Diana is good. Boom, right there. She gives you a 20% of HP bulwark shield at the beginning of the battle, and when you have it, you get a 20% damage bonus, a 15% damage reduction, and you deal 40% more final damage to shielded enemies. Thor's going to S tier. You get 30% less damage. You take 30% less damage when you're controlled, and you get a 30% chance to ignore a control effect and counterattack instead, just with a basic attack though. Shiva, only reason I'm not putting him in sucks is because the extra damage against a shield. So he locks onto a target, does 50% more damage to them, but also 50% more damage if they have a shield. Like we said, shields are annoying. Agni, I'm just gonna throw him in B tier. These aren't in any order, by the way, like just the B tier or the sucks tier, I guess. So he's got a 30% chance to trigger a fire debuff damage on a target or apply burn if no one's burned. That's not good enough for an EX servant. Ninetales, I'll throw in S tier. She's got a 30% chance to reduce your attacker's damage by 60% until the end of the turn, which could be really useful. Empyrean Dragon, triple S tier. So it increases your base rage by 2%, by 2. So you start with 2 more rage. Gives you a 50% chance to negate resistance when your healing, shield, or rage boost is resisted. So like healing ban, buff reversal, stuff like that, he can reverse that reversal. So he's pretty good for that. Up to 6 times per turn though, for each effect. So he can be doing this a lot. 50% chance is a pretty good chance as well. And it's also part of the play for getting rid of Kongming or Angel and Demon because of that base rage increase. Mighty Tiger going to SS tier. Each attack deals 1% damage, 1% max HP damage to the enemy, reduces their defense and damage reduction by 2% for 2 turns up to 40 stacks. So you can really layer that up. Apsara, let's go into A tier. She increases damage reduction by 40% when you're controlled. If no action is taken in that turn, increase damage by 50% for the next one. Actually, yeah, I'll put her in the backside of S. She does give you pretty good damage reduction, but only when you're controlled. Elsa going into triple S tier. So she boosts your final damage by 20% in the first turn. You gain 10% each turn until the battle ends, and it can't be dispelled. And battles last so long, this is going to add up a lot. You're going to do so much, and final damage instead of regular damage. She's crazy. This is a really good servant. So we got Guarding Tortoise going, it's got to be ahead of Fortifying. Probably the best of A tier. Gives you a shield equal to 36% of your HP when entering battle, which includes every time you're revived. Actually, it's probably, I'm kind of making this half up on the fly. I do have notes I'm looking at, but once I put somebody there, I feel like they're better than somebody else, so I move them. Incandescent Bird, that's an A tier. Just near the top somewhere. I'm not being too picky with these bottom ones. These ones should be pretty damn accurate. So Incandescent Bird, every rage increases crit damage and crit damage reduction by 5%. So that's going to fluctuate up and down as you're using skills, gaining rage, stuff like that. Solarius, really good. Probably in the middle. So 60% chance for each action to increase indirect damage bonus and reduction by 10% for 3 turns up to 5 stacks. So that's going to help against like damage over time debuffs and stuff, like all your indirect damage. So like against Aurora, Agni, stuff like that. Lunarius, near the top of SS. So it reduces the opposite enemy's rage by 4, which if you know where your team is, no. I was going to say you could do it for Angel and Demon or Kong Ming, but that doesn't matter because they're going to get their skull off no matter what. So that's kind of redundant. But the 40% chance to make any debuff ineffective when you get hit with it twice per turn, that's pretty good. That can be really good, but not that good. Right about there, I think is fair. These ones are just somehow I had extras. I don't know why. That is the new servant tier list. Now we will go do a throwback video to my antique tier list guide thing that I did a long time ago. So if you don't need that, I'm sure most of you won't, then that's it. The everything tier list. So make sure you comment down below. I don't know if I'm going to be making any more videos for this game, to be frank with you guys, to be honest. I think it's pretty much run its course for me. I haven't played in quite a while either, right? I just been reading up in the discords and stuff for Examcock and this game. I've been keeping up with stuff. I just haven't been playing. But I've got so much going on, so many games going on. I think I just got to let go, make some room in my brain for the next game. So make sure to keep the likes and the comments flooding down below. We'll try to get this video out. I'm sure it'll help a lot of people. If people are still joining the game, I'm not sure. But it was time for a new servant tier list and a new unit tier list as well. So I'll catch you guys next time if you join me for videos on another game. And here's the antique tier list thing, whatever. I'm going to be using a tier list, but again, this isn't going to be a normal tier list. It's going to be more of the order you should unlock them and level them up in. We're going to focus on the mythic entities because you can actually hunt for those in the summoning, and the purple and yellow ones will just come naturally and they're random. So the first set you're going to want to unlock is Sword of the Wild. At level 1, it's going to give you an extra attack at the start of the first turn, and at max, it'll give you an extra attack at the beginning of every turn. This is going to be really good, and you're probably going to want to equip it on Kong Ming right now, as it's going to keep your rage topped up and it'll help combat Thunder Pegasus. And that's also another reason why in my Beast video I didn't recommend to max out Pegasus, because this is going to kind of nerf him a little bit by letting Kong Ming just buff your rage constantly. Next set you're going to want to unlock is Draconic Conquest because of its great revive function, which is also why I had Asclepios at the very bottom of the SS tier in the last tier list that I made, because with this antique, her revive skill is going to become less good, or at least less needed, because this antique's pretty good at keeping people alive. At level 1, this gives you the birth status when deployed, and if there's another unit with birth status, then when your HP drops to 0, you'll gain the death status, which switches back to birth status on the next turn. Beware, birth can be removed though, because it is a buff. So you equip 2 units to this antique, and it basically makes it so if one of them dies and the other's alive, then neither one of them will die. They'll both have to be killed at the same turn for both of them to die. When this one's maxed out, when you reach that 0 HP and birth switches to death, the other unit's going to get healed to full health, and then when death switches back to birth, that unit will get healed for 30%. This is really super important to get, and if you're spending, then I would max this one out right now. If you're not spending, you could probably move on to the next antique, as this one will already provide you with pretty good passive at level 1. But if you are spending a good amount, you can max out these 2 right away. I'm kind of making this tier list more for like the free to play and low spending people, so keep that in mind. I mean, if you are wailing out, you can max out those 2 and the next 2 and probably call it a day. So the next one we're going to unlock is Imperial Reverence. This one's pretty straightforward. A level 1 gives you a 10% final damage bonus, and when you max it out, gives you a 36% final damage bonus. It's really good, as you're always going to be needing more damage as you push higher into PvE content. You'll be fighting teams like triple your power, and they're just going to have so much HP, so you're going to need an extra damage boost. Next, we're going to unlock Nether Descent. for the 10% final damage reduction at level 1 and 36% final damage reduction at max level. Some people might want to unlock evil suppression next, but I gotta say I don't think it's necessary. At level 1 it gives you a 25% chance to kill the person who killed you, and at max level it's a 100% chance to kill the person who killed you and lets you survive with 1 HP. Keep in mind though, this is only going to work for one of your units because you can only equip one unit to this antique. So unless someone comes up with something that I didn't anticipate, I suggest skipping this one for now and leveling it up later. Instead, we're going to get Sword of the Wild to level 4 or 5. At level 4, it's going to be pretty well good enough. If you notice your fights are lasting a lot longer and you're running out of rage, you could just level to level 5 right now. The only reason I suggest stopping at level 4 for now is because the shards you need to go from 4 to 5 are twice as much as the other levels, and 4 rounds of the extra rage from Kong Ming should be good enough for now. This one's going to increase our maximum possible rage from Kong Ming to 9 on the first 4 turns. So 9 rage every 4 turns is the max you can get. That's if he hits that extra little 30% chance to store an extra rage. At the bare minimum, he's going to be giving us 6 rage every turn with this antique, if you have him at Divine 1. And that should be more than enough to make sure everybody's got rage for their skills. After maxing out Sword of the Wild or getting it to level 4, we're going to work on Draconic Conquest. This is going to massively increase your survivability for 2 of our units, and you should just put this on 2 of your best units. Means probably Great Adventure and another damage dealer. Those have to experiment and see who dies first and who dies last, and just use your own judgment. Now it's a straight run through Imperial Reverence and Nether Descendant. Want that juicy final damage boost and final damage reduction. Can never have enough of that. Now, if you haven't yet, get your Sword of the Wild up to max level if it's still at level 4. And that leaves us with just 2 left. And you can start on Evil Suppression for that chance to kill your attacker when you die. After that, the only one left is Mighty Blessing, which at level 1 gives you a 10% chance to convert 30% of the damage you take into HP regen. And at max level, it'll give you a 30% chance to convert all of it into HP regen. Okay, that is it. That is all she wrote. So remember my new anime channel, you can probably see it in the background right now. I'll have a link to that in the description below. So if you're into anime stuff, I've been doing top 10s. My last one was the top 10 most brutal revenge moments in anime, plus just like a bonus nostalgic one. I've done like the top 10 murderers in anime, like the characters who have killed the most people, and some people have killed like trillions, like it's insane. So yeah, if you're like into any of that stuff, go check out my video. I'll have my latest video in the description below. And if you like that kind of content, make sure you subscribe. I'm trying to get this second channel off the ground. I am struggling. I've had I think I've got like 7 videos over the past few months, and yeah, it's just tough going. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later. See ya.